From a distance, the villa was completely dark.
Every night, the driver saw his boss looking depressed in the rearview mirror.
That day, they ran into a complete nightmare. Her husband was pinned to the muddy ground by thugs.
It was clearly a setup by that snake, G-Boda, but when the husband tried explaining, she wouldn't listen.
She just blindly accused him of being manipulative and snapped, telling him to take the kid and leave. The driver wanted to tell her she was wrong, but before he spoke,
He spotted Ye-Fan standing right there.
this is low-key heartbreaking. In his past life, Ye-Fan absolutely hated her. But a year later, during a terrifying kidnapping, she sacrificed her own life to save him and their child.
She died right in front of him.
Mist and rain lightly dusted the cold tombstone, the air freezing and damp.
The bitter, biting chill cut straight through to his bones until a sudden wind swept across the cemetery. Shivering, he finally snapped out of the shock of being reborn. Given a second chance at life, he only wanted to start over and treat his wife right. His eyes welled up with bitter tears, and he desperately wanted to run and find her right that second. But in his past life, his constant divorce threats had completely enraged her. That's why she punished him. He didn't want to make things worse, so he kneeled for hours. Heavy rain pounded down. His clothes were instantly soaked, sticking to his freezing skin. He kept looking back over his shoulder, but the dark road remained completely empty and silent. When he asked the maid, she coldly replied that the boss went to work. There had to be a mistake. In his past life, she had rushed back after just 10 minutes. But now, they just laughed. They sneered. If he didn't want to kneel, he shouldn't make excuses. The maid sneered about how she bought him multi-million-dollar watches every single month without fail.
Yet he just tossed them to beggars without even looking.
Now he suddenly cares? He casually praised a horse, so she bought the champion the next day. But he turned around and gifted that champion horse to her arch-rival, completely humiliating her in public. He didn't care then, so why act all heartbroken now? His entire body trembled. Bitter regret choked him. He had been so blind back then. He had believed a fake friend's lies and blamed her for his own grandfather's tragic death. He had treated her like an enemy, but now he truly knew. He had to find her. It was his turn to make things right. Soaking wet, he rushed straight to her corporate headquarters. Rain dripped onto the carpet. Inside, she sat in a gorgeous white dress looking absolutely stunning. Focused and elegant, she quietly reviewed documents under the soft light. Peering through the crack in the door, he spots a highly familiar figure, and his heart starts racing. He instinctively hurries forward, but stops cold when he hears the conversation inside. The maid asks if she is really going to leave him out there, kneeling in the rain for 5 hours. Her slender hand suddenly freezes mid-air. Liu Ruyan snaps with an icy glare, telling her to shut up and never call him master again. Even after kneeling in the freezing rain for 5 hours, our guy has never felt a chill this brutal. His face turns completely pale as his heart tightly squeezes. It feels like a blade twisting in his chest. Just then, Liu Ruyan raises her head. Her freezing, indifferent gaze locks onto his, and the moment their eyes meet, his mind completely blanks out. Bro, what? It turns out Liu Ruyan regressed too? She tosses a folder right in front of him, her voice chillingly cold as she says he arrived just in time. She sneers, asking if he is going to complain about her not divorcing him and worsening his depression like last time. Now she is giving him exactly what he wanted. He looks down at the papers, his vision blurring from the shock. Right there on the divorce agreement, Liu Ruyan has already signed her name. He desperately grips the edge of the paper, his knuckles turning white because he actually does not want this divorce. He begs her to give him a second chance to make things right, but she just lets out a mocking laugh. She slams her silver pen onto the desk. This is a notice, not a negotiation. She orders him to sign the papers, take his bastard child, and get out of the city. Every single word feels like a physical dagger stabbing straight into his chest. He opens his mouth to explain, but the words get stuck in his throat. Memories hit him like a tidal wave. 5 years ago, right after his grandfather passed away, his friends told him Liu Ruyan was the mastermind behind it, marrying him only to destroy the Ye family. Crushed by the devastating news, he ended up at a bar to drown his sorrows. He tried using alcohol to numb the agonizing pain, drinking until everything became a complete blur.
A mysterious woman approached him, and when he woke up the next morning, his memory was completely blank.
He had absolutely no idea what happened that night, or even how he managed to stumble back home. But in his past life, right before his death, the kidnapper gave a twisted smile and laughed at Liu Ruyan, calling her pathetic for being the richest woman in the city, yet totally clueless. She did not even know she was being cheated on, or that the child she raised like her own
Actually belonged to Ye Fan and another woman. Hearing this memory, his heart skips a beat.
He remembers that blacked-out night at the bar, but his throat remains completely dry. He cannot find the words, which only makes him look incredibly guilty in Liu Ruyan's eyes.
Her rage boils over as she suddenly stands up.
She grabs the divorce agreement and flings it right in his face, paper scattering everywhere.
His chest tightens. He instinctively reaches out to grab her hand and explain the truth. But she violently shoves him away with all her strength. He crashes heavily onto the floor, his forehead slamming hard against the sharp edge of the desk. Crimson blood immediately starts pouring down, staining his face. In that brutal moment, he can't even tell what hurts worse, his bleeding head or his shattered heart. Talk about low-key heartbreaking. Just then, her phone rings. Her cold expression melts instantly, and she speaks into the receiver with a warm, doting tone. She promises she will be right there, hangs up, and steps right over him to leave. Watching her heartless departure, his voice trembles as he asks where she is going. Her clicking heels stop instantly. Liu Ruyan turns around and leans in dangerously close. Until their breath mingles, she whispers a freezing, gravelly response. She sneers that a filthy person like him has no right to care about her good night. She walks away without looking back once as a massive crack of thunder splits the dark sky. Even with the heating blasting inside, he feels absolutely frozen. Honestly, it feels way colder than when he was just drenched by the freezing rain outside. It feels like drowning in a bottomless ocean. And seriously, is not regression supposed to make things better? Why is his life still a complete mess? Suddenly, his phone rings. The noise pulls him back to reality. It is his sweet little son calling. Dian asks when his dad is coming home, his voice pure and innocent. He takes a deep breath, fighting the tears. Whispering that dad will be home soon, he quickly patches up his wounds at a pharmacy. He quickly hails a cab to rush home, but the second he opens the door, Dian jumps off the couch barefoot and runs right into his arms, shouting for his dad. He asks where his dad went, crying about how much he missed him. Seeing the white bandage on his head, the sweet kid's big eyes instantly fill with tears. Pouting his little mouth, he reaches up and gently blows on the bandage with tiny hands.
He says if he blows on it, then his daddy won't feel any pain.
Staring at his son's precious little face, an overwhelming sadness floods our main character. Tears well up in his eyes as Dian hugs him as tight as he can. The boy suddenly asks about his aunt. See, in his past life, he despised Liu Ruyan. So Dian never called her mom. Now, his fingers tremble in his son's hair. Swallowing his complicated feelings, he asks if they should start calling her mom now? Dian's eyes light up instantly as he cheers that he finally gets to have a mother, too. After tucking his excited son into bed, he slowly walks back to his quiet room. The ticking clock on the wall only makes his heart feel 10 times emptier. His stomach sinks as he glances at his phone. The screen is pitch black, still absolutely nothing. He waits all night in vain. The next morning, he automatically opens up his social media feed to check for updates. As his fingers scroll down the screen, a newly posted photo suddenly catches his eye. It is her secretary, Boda, posting a photo of their cozy dinner. Boda is laughing happily, showing off a very shiny necktie. But wait, that is the exact same wedding anniversary gift his wife gave him in his past life. His finger freezes as pain grips his chest. Breathing becomes almost impossible as he realizes exactly who she was rushing to meet last night. It was indeed Boda. He stares at the photo in self-destructive silence. With pale, trembling fingers, he types a pathetic message to his wife, saying he is sorry. He begs her not to discard him like trash, but gets no reply. Over the next few days, he completely buries himself in a hectic piano performance schedule.
Liu Ruyan never comes home, leaving him completely abandoned. He tries to focus, but his shaking fingers can barely find the keys.
His assistant is incredibly worried. Just as he reaches for some medicine, his phone rings with pure panic on the line.
Dian fell off a horse. The medicine bottle drops and instantly shatters on the floor.
He drives like a madman to the stables.
Palms slick with cold sweat, he frantically races inside to find his son.
The horrific sight before Ye-Fan literally makes his breath catch. His little son is covered in blood, with his eyes shut tight. The kid is totally pale, and remember, Ye-Fan has protected him across 2 lifetimes.
Dian was always their spoiled little prince, so seeing him this broken is low-key heartbreaking.
Ye-Fan rushes over to hold his boy, gently brushing the messy hair from his face. He checks every single wound, feeling like his own heart is being shredded.
But then he notices the family doctor just standing there, refusing to help.
Ye-Fan snaps instantly. What are you just standing there for?
Get over here and treat my son! But before he can even finish, a freezing voice cuts in from behind. What right does a bastard have to use her family doctor?
Ye-Fan freezes, spinning around instantly.
He locks eyes with Liu Ruyan, and her stare is completely lifeless. Before he can even speak, another figure steps out. It is the sneaky Secretary Ji Boda, acting all teary-eyed. He fakes an apology. Brother Ye-Fan, I am so sorry for my bad planning. I accidentally let your son ride that untamed wild horse.
But his eyes are filled with pure smugness, making Ye-Fan shake with absolute rage.
That horse literally kicks professional trainers. How could you let a child ride it?
Ji Boda whimpers, hiding right behind Liu Ruyan like a total coward.
He acts like he is the real victim here. As a top secretary, this guy has planned countless elite horse events. There is absolutely no way he did not know the danger. Ye-Fan is absolutely losing it. But Liu Ruyan steps in, completely shielding her precious secretary. She calls her own son a bastard, saying the fall is no big deal. Honestly, this woman is straight up trash for saying that. Ye-Fan is completely shattered.
How could she say that right in front of the bleeding kid? Just then, Dian weakly opens his eyes, whispering for his mommy.
That tiny voice hits like a knife, making the cold mother pause.
For a split second, something softens in Liu Ruyan's icy eyes. But she quickly shakes it off and walks away without looking back once. Diane stares at his father, his big eyes filling with tears. He asks why Mommy is ignoring him, wondering if he did something wrong. At this point, Ye-Fan just bursts into tears.
His heart is absolutely breaking as he gently strokes his son's hair.
No, baby, he lies through his tears. Mommy just did not hear you.
She would never ignore you. But then the sweet boy reaches out. He clumsily wipes away Ye-Fan's tears, telling his dad not to cry.
Bro, this kid is literally too good for this world. Ye-Fan nods through the choking pain in his throat. He forces a smile, promising he won't cry anymore. He tells the boy they are heading to the hospital now. After a quick check, he rushes his son straight to the clinic. A month later, Dian finally heals up, and Ye-Fan brings him home. His phone starts buzzing. Yep, Ji Boda again. For a whole month, this clown has been switching numbers daily to harass him.
Spamming endless couple pics.
Bragging about how Ruyan always blocks drinks for him at dinners. Buying him watches? Asking if a wedding ring is next? Honestly, the audacity is insane. He literally texts Ye-Fan asking how he still has the face to stay. Ye-Fan thought his heart was already completely numb to the sting. But then he opened social media. Trending headline, billionaire Liu Ruyan officially admits her marriage is over.
Last time they trended, Ye-Fan went critical and she dropped everything.
Ignoring doctors to give him her blood, swearing her veins held his name.
She said she would only stop loving him if she died. Staring at the screen, his hands shake as he opens her chat.
He texts her, I know you hate me, but the child is innocent.
Asking to do a paternity test for Dian, but after hitting send? Only dead silence. He finally snaps and sends a desperate voice message. He asks if she knows he checks his phone hundreds of times daily.
waiting for her reply, asking if she wants to drive him mad.
Begging for a single period, just to know she still cares.
No reply. Until suddenly, the screen flashes. Just a location, West 3 Club. The heavy pressure finally lifts slightly. He rushes over, but the moment he enters the parking lot, he spots her familiar plate and runs to get inside. Passing her car, a suggestive sound from within makes him freeze. Ruyan is sitting on Jibota's lap, clothes half off. Her cheeks are flushed. Jibota's playful voice echoes, "Ruyan!"
He asks her for a baby. Yefan turns pale as death.
Frozen there, their heavy giggles sound like a screeching alarm. His head rings. Outside, a heavy downpour suddenly starts. Bone-chilling cold seeps deep into his skin. Warmth quickly drains with every single breath. Shivering violently, he is suddenly jolted by a massive crash of thunder. Somehow, he is back inside his empty home.
Cold droplets splash down his cheeks. The rain?
No. Tears. He stumbles blindly toward their bedroom. Their wedding photo still hangs, her old love letters nearby. The handmade lamp she made him. On the surface, nothing changed. But now, and this is actually crazy, the woman who once risked her life is in another man's bed, thinking of the lips that kissed him. Now touching someone else, his stomach violently churns with pure disgust. Feeling physically sick. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing.
He tries to answer, but his hand, once praised as the hand of a music god,
goes completely stiff. His fingers tremble uncontrollably. Swiping to answer takes several painful tries. When he finally connects, her cold, distant voice echoes through. A heavy hammer slams into his chest. Why did she even promise those vows?
That disgusting scene of his wife embracing another man in the parking lot flashes back.
Fan desperately wants to confront her, but his throat feels locked in icy chains. His lips tremble violently. Not a single sound comes out.
The cold voice on the phone sneers, "Since you are too guilty to show up."
Why even pretend to care? And with that, the call brutally goes dead. His phone slips from his hand as heavy rain blurs the windows outside.
It completely blurs his vision too as a freezing cold sweeps over him again.
He claws his wrists bloody, and honestly, his depression is getting seriously bad here. His flesh is completely torn, yet he feels absolutely nothing. He frantically gulps down his prescribed pills, waiting for the sharp pain to fade. Slowly, it turns into a numb ache that tears directly at his soul. Days pass by in a painful blur before his phone finally rings again. The caller asks him to come over to fix a music sheet for tomorrow.
Staring at his weak hand, he agrees and packs his resignation letter into his bag.
But just as he steps out, a tiny kid wraps around his leg. Little Dian asks if he is leaving, snapping Fan out of his daze. He answers hoarsely as the sweet child blinks up at him with big, watery eyes. Dian gently tugs his shirt, excited to share that they made cakes at school. She made his favorite strawberry cake, instantly warming his broken heart. He kisses Dian on the cheek and promises to return very soon. But instead of cake, his car soon stops before a super shady pool hall.
The smell of smoke and hostile glares hit him immediately, making him step back.
His dread spikes. Then, boom!
Rough hands slam over his mouth, and his vision instantly fades to black.
Darkness takes over. Then, his eyes snap open. A disgusting, greasy-faced thug is leaning right over his face. Reeking of stale alcohol and cigarettes, the man breathes yellow teeth right on him. Fan feels his stomach churn, but other thugs pin him down. They slam him flat against the rough dirt ground, keeping him completely immobile. One thug sneers that they have worked this construction site for ages.
This is the first time they have ever caught someone this handsome.
The thug rips the buttons off his pants and shamelessly reaches inside. Utter despair creeps up his spine as he struggles uselessly to escape. Tears of pure terror stream down his face until the door is suddenly blasted open. A pair of sharp, shiny high heels steps right into view. Liu Ruyan screams in fury, instantly kicking the main thug straight to the floor. She rains down heavy punches on his face, her eyes red with murderous rage. The thug screams through the blood that Ye Fan actually set this entire thing up.
He claims Ye Fan paid him to act out this entire kidnapping drama.
Apparently, it was a scam to squeeze $5 million out of her. Liu Ruyan freezes in midair as she turns her head like a robot. Her rage turns icy cold, while her scheming companion Ji-Boda acts completely shocked.
Ji-Boda gasps. How could Ye Fan hire thugs to scam her for money?
Bleeding on the ground, Ye Fan claws the concrete, crying out that it wasn't him.
A ragged gasp escapes Ye's throat as he desperately explains that the guy literally kidnapped him.
He insists he doesn't even know the kidnapper, but Ruyan snaps back, asking how the man knew his name.
Ruyan's crimson eyes burn like pure fire, scorching away whatever was left of Yi's dignity.
Her voice is freezing cold as she spits out each word one by one.
She tells him she should have never saved him, which hits Yi like a bucket of ice water.
The icy chill seeps straight into his bones, leaving him completely paralyzed in his tracks. He freezes. He remembers how he once lied about losing his music sheets just to test her.
He claimed they fell into the freezing lake, an incredibly obvious, clumsy lie. Yet without a single second thought, she was ready to dive straight into that icy water for him. But now that the love is gone, she sentences him before he can even utter a word of explanation.
She has already deemed him guilty. Honestly, seeing how fast love turns to utter hatred is wild.
Ruyan turns to leave, coldly muttering that her lawyer will contact him to ensure he gets absolutely nothing.
She looks at him with pure disgust, telling him to take his brat and get out tonight.
Later, in a dark, empty room, Ye curls up on the bed, completely shattered. Only when his little son calls out to him does Yi finally snap back to reality. Ever since that horrific confrontation, his severe depression has only gotten progressively worse. His son has to call him repeatedly just to get a weak, delayed response from him. The sheer disgust in Ruyan's eyes as she walked away still haunts him like an endless nightmare. He is utterly trapped in this dark mental loop, but tries his best to mask his pain. Forcing a faint smile, he asks if Dian Dian is ready for school, but the boy just shakes his head.
Dian Dian whispers that tomorrow is his mom's birthday, and he misses her. Ye's chest tightens with pain.
Looking into his son's innocent, hopeful eyes, he just cannot bring himself to break the kid's heart. He can't tell him that his mom abandoned them, so he quickly changes the subject to avoid crying. After dropping him off at kindergarten, Ye hands Dian Dian over to his teacher. But the boy suddenly lets go of the teacher, running back to throw his arms around Ye. He tells Ye that even if Mom doesn't want them, he will stay forever. This is low-key heartbreaking. Ye holds his son as tightly as he can, desperately hiding his tears from the little guy. He just nods silently. Suddenly, a notification pops up on his phone, reminding him of his checkup. At the clinic, the therapist reviews his latest psychological evaluation with a heavy frown. The doctor warns Ye that staying in the country will only trigger his trauma and worsen things. His condition is spiraling, and his only real shot at recovery is moving abroad to heal. Completely cutting ties with this toxic environment is necessary. Ye's eyes tremble in panic. His fingers grip the paper, staring at the bold words, diagnostic report, severe clinical depression. Those words trigger painful flashbacks of his absolute despair at the construction site. He remembers Ruyan's heartless divorce papers and the sleepless nights that completely broke him. He thinks of waking up, choking on pills, and his sweet son trying so hard to be strong. The heartbreaking memory makes him squeeze the medical report tight, his knuckles turning white. But he is stuck. Ruyan, now the wealthiest mogul in the city, has legally barred him from leaving. Leaving means cutting all ties with her forever, and a part of him still remembers her old love. The therapist's gaze falls directly on the self-harm scars on Ye's wrists as he sighs deeply. He tells him that a person who truly loves you would never let you hurt yourself like this. The doctor gently reminds him that he was once loved unconditionally by Ruyan in the past. He should know that real love heals you rather than pushing you to the brink of death. His clenched hands tighten and release. Summoning every drop of his remaining strength, Yi finally agrees to leave. As those words leave his mouth, a sudden wave of exhaustion washes over him, completely draining him. Ye Fan silently heads back to pack, his heart aching.
He stares at the flight ticket and dials the preschool teacher.
Panicked crying rings out instantly.
She screams that Dian fell from a tree at school. Hearing the news, his hands go completely numb. His ears ring. He immediately dials Liu Ruyan, and surprisingly, she actually answers. He cries that Dian is in danger.
He begs for the miracle pill she once mentioned.
The life-saving pill from Dr. Xu. On the other end of the line, Liu Ruyan pauses.
She coldly asks why a worthless brat deserves that pill. The audacity. Terrified of her hanging up, he panics.
He will divorce her if she just saves their son. He will disappear forever.
His voice cracks into a completely shattered, desperate whisper.
Liu Ruyan freezes, a strange look flashing in her eyes.
She promises to send it and hangs up.
Her final cold warning tells him to get lost. He sinks back, hoping for the best.
He can finally take Dian far away.
He rushes to the hospital, but the surgery light is off.
Dian is missing, so he grabs a doctor.
Where is he?
The doctor shakes his head, saying he is dead.
Ye Fan stammers, asking if they made a mistake. Didn't Liu Ruyan send the miracle pill? How is it possible that his son is dead? What pill? She literally sent a piece of candy. This is wild.
Ye Fan's knuckles turn white.
He begs the doctor, but he only stays silent. Chilled to the bone, he dials her number. His shaking fingers can barely even press the keys. A smug male voice answers instead.
It is Jiboida, mockingly asking why he is calling again.
Ye Fan demands her.
Jiboida laughs, asking if he still doesn't get the candy trick. Ain't no way.
A bitter taste fills his throat. Who else? Jiboida sneers, sending him into chaos. Everything goes pitch black. The phone slips and the world goes silent. People are talking, but he cannot hear a word. He stumbles, pulling back the sheet. His boy's bloody, lifeless face shatters his entire world. He collapses onto the floor.
Tears stream down like broken pearls. Dian, your daddy is finally here to pick you up. Didn't you say we'd eat cake and stay together forever?
Please open your eyes and look at me, Dian. Stop sleeping. Just say something to me, as he holds his son's lifeless body in a tight embrace. Tears flood his face, staring at that deep, painful wound on his sweet baby. Was he crying and calling for Daddy when he fell? He gently strokes his son's tiny hand, only to find a flower tightly clenched inside his little fist.
Even his school teacher is crying at this point. It is literally heartbreaking. That was the birthday gift Dian wanted to give his mom, leaving Yifan staring completely blank at his son.
Suddenly, he bursts into hysterical laughter. He laughs like a madman, tears pouring down endlessly in a pain that will never stop. His sweet, gentle Dian is gone forever, frozen at only 4 years old. After the cremation, he completely deletes every single way to contact his toxic wife, Liu Ruyan. He deletes everything, taking his son's ashes to run far away. There is no way he can spend another single day in this absolutely suffocating, heartless city. But just as he's about to board the plane and leave everything behind, heavy footsteps echo behind him. Ye Fan! His entire body freezes. Before a brutal force violently grabs his wrist and drags his entire body back into a freezing, heartless embrace. Who gave you permission to leave? He only manages to force a dead, bitter smile. But his eyes are completely dead. Shouldn't my leaving for good be exactly what you wanted? She fiercely pinches his chin, squeezing with brutal strength that threatens to crush his jawbone completely. You think you can just run away and end everything? She tears his signed divorce papers into tiny shreds, screaming that he owes her a debt he can never repay. But his eyes remain numb and empty, looking at her with absolute bone-deep exhaustion. Liu Ruyan, just let me go! The toxic ex-wife instantly freezes, her heart feeling like it's being brutally squeezed by some massive invisible hand. Her breath catches, and her simmering rage completely vanishes into thin air. Replacing it is a terrifying panic, as if something is permanently slipping out of her control. Her eyes darken as she violently drags Ye Fan back toward her car. The door slams shut. She aggressively grabs him by the back of his neck and forces her lips onto his. But that is no kiss. It is pure, savage biting.
This feels like she wants to swallow him whole just to prove he can never escape her grasp.
Yifan struggles wildly, his nails scratching deep, bloody marks down her neck.
But she easily pins his wrists down. She lets out a terrifying low laugh.
"Don't even dream of leaving me in this lifetime," she whispers, tearing his clothes away.
Violent, forceful kisses rain down on him, and his eyes widen in absolute petrified horror. His blood completely runs cold. His sweet son's body is...
This is actually so toxic, guys. How could she do this right in front of their son's ashes? Pure disgust makes Yifan's stomach churn. He struggles like crazy to break free, but she ruthlessly pins him down with her knee, leaving him completely paralyzed. As absolute despair washes over him, a cold, ruthless look suddenly flashes in his eyes. He bites down hard on his own tongue, and Liu Ruyan's pupils instantly shrink in absolute horror. She violently grabs his jaw, squeezing with a savage force that almost shatters his bones. She screams out, "Are you insane, Ye-fan?" A rare crack of panic finally breaking through her voice.
She pries his mouth open with trembling fingers, forcing blood to spill right from his lips.
It looks like a glaring red line, and honestly, the visual is so tragic. He forces a tragic smile, saying everything broke the day their child Dian died. That was the day he lost his mind, making Liu Ruyan's fingertips visibly tremble. You can see pure chaos in her eyes as they turn completely bloodshot. It is hard to tell if she is angry or what, but her voice is straight up ice. She demands what nonsense he is talking about, saying he is clearly out of his mind. Then she looks away and delivers her final cold judgment, since he is crazy. She is sending him where he belongs until he finally learns his lesson. She commits him to Qingshan Psychiatric Hospital, insane. As the heavy iron gate slams shut, two brutal, orderly guys grab our main character. They violently throw him into a dark, damp ward. His wrists are still bruised, but he feels absolutely nothing. Just then, a menacing new orderly walks in with a cruel smirk on his face. He waves a taser around, mocking him about how disobedient he reportedly is. Our boy does not say a single word, just sliding down the wall onto the floor. He just stares blankly out the window, which completely sets off the orderly. The guy sneers and delivers a brutal kick right to his stomach, yelling if he is mute. Agonizing pain makes him curl up. He refuses to make a sound, so the orderly laughs and aggressively grabs his hair. Forcing his head up, he warns that Liu Ruyan gave strict orders to take care of him. They drag him away. There was just a cold metal bed and the sharp stench of disinfectant everywhere. The flashing equipment looks terrifying as they pin him down onto the bed. Straps bind his limbs tightly. The doctor coldly says since his mind is broken, they will treat him thoroughly. The moment the electric shock rips through his body, he finally screams out in pure agony. His body spasms violently, his teeth biting so hard his own lip starts bleeding. Blood drips down, but the staff just watch coldly, demanding if he admits his mistakes. They do it again! This is pure torture! His body quickly wastes away as they throw him into a pitch-black solitary cell. No food and no water, just rats constantly gnawing at him in the dark. Soon, his mind starts slipping until he cannot tell reality from hallucination. He dreams of his son standing in the light, reaching out and calling him daddy. He tries to hold him, but the boy vanishes instantly. This is low-key heartbreaking. One night, he is suddenly splashed awake with a bucket of freezing water. Cruel orderlies surround him, laughing and asking if he was really Liu Ruyan's former man. They mock him for being dumped here, but he has zero energy to respond. He just closes his eyes, so one guard slaps him hard, calling him trash. His head slams into the wall, and warm blood trickles down his forehead. Yet he feels no pain, only wondering in a daze if this is what Liu Ruyan wanted. Meanwhile, we cut to a luxury yacht where a completely different scene is playing out. Liu Ruyan is helping Jibota cut a cake, but she feels strangely anxious. Jibota starts to speak, but notices she's just staring blankly at the cake. She checks her phone, but there is not a single notification on the screen. Liu Ruyan irritably asks how he is doing, completely avoiding his name or location. But her assistant knows exactly who she means and quickly reassures her. They got the best doctors and nurses to take care of her husband.
Still, her anxiety won't fade as his lifeless, hollow eyes haunt her mind. This is literally their worst fight. The tension is crazy.
She finally orders her assistant to bring him back first thing tomorrow. Just then, massive fireworks burst open, lighting up the entire night sky. Our poor main character painfully raises his head to watch the brilliant firelight burst across the dark sky. Far in the distance, a massive LED screen glows on a skyscraper.
Happy birthday to G. Boda. Honestly, this villain is shameless.
That exclusive screen was supposed to be reserved only for their son Diandian. Yet she used it for her favorite instead, when suddenly, his phone buzzes. He looks down at his smuggled phone, staring at a digital report.
A 99.99% maternal match? Mind-blowing.
He just laughs. His laughter gets louder and louder, even as tears stream down his face. With a trembling finger, he prepares to send the report. He forwards it straight to Liu Ruyan while the abusive staff shout outside. Angry voices get closer. He doesn't care. Not anymore. Using a sharp glass shard, he cuts deep into his wrist as his vision fades. His breathing slows down, and in his final moments, a hallucination appears. He sees his late son, Diandian, standing in the light, reaching out to him. As the final firework shoots up, his baby boy whispers, "Let's go." He closes his eyes. One last tear. It's over. That's low-key heartbreaking. His debt to her is fully paid. Meanwhile, right when the fireworks are at their brightest, something weird happens in the crowd. Liu Ruyan spots a short-haired man holding a little boy's hand. The kid yells, "Mom!" Her heart drops instantly. She shoves Jibo-da away and bolts straight into the crowd. Suddenly, she grabs his shoulder, but freezes when her assistant calls out. Her throat tightens. She slowly lets go. Total silence. In a raspy voice, she apologizes for the mistake, and the man just smiles. As the father and son turn to leave, the little boy looks up at her. With bright, innocent eyes, the kid waves goodbye, and she just nods numbly. She whispers goodbye as they fade away, her chest feeling incredibly heavy. Standing there alone, she tiredly rubs her temples to calm down. She closes her eyes, trying to block out the exhaustion. Hearing that boy call for his mother triggered some weird, unsettling emotion in her. After a long, tense silence, she finally breaks and turns around. She asks her assistant why she hasn't seen her own kid in days. Has Ye Fan been acting out? Her assistant just freezes. Her assistant freezes, admitting they have zero updates on the child. Irritated, Liu Ruyan clenches her fists and orders them to go investigate. Before her assistant can even reply, a greasy voice interrupts them. It is Jibo-da, who looks super annoyed, but quickly hides it. In a fake, whiny voice, he asks why she did not wait for him. The guests have been waiting forever, so they need to head back. But Liu Ruyan's annoyance is hitting the ceiling. She can't shake that brief glimpse of a familiar man. The image of him holding a kid's hand is literally playing on loop in her head. She realizes his kid will throw a fit if he is gone too long, so she decides to go get him. Honestly, ever since dumping Yifan at the hospital, she's been completely swamped with company work. Plus, that annoying green tea guy, Jibo-da, dragged her to his birthday party, so she hasn't seen Yifan in forever. Anxiety is finally creeping in, and she starts rushing because something feels seriously off. But Jibo-da's eyes go wide, and he grabs her arm to stop her. He panics, whining about how she promised to stay with him past 12 o'clock. Liu Ruyan frowns at his hand. Her patience is officially paper thin. Just as she is losing it, her assistant Keizu runs over with a message. He hands over the phone, and she snatches it immediately. She expects some apology text from Ye Fan, but nope, it's definitely not that. It's an official file, and the second she opens it, her jaw literally drops. Bro, it's a DNA test report, and the results are black and white. She has a 99.99% biological match with Diandian. Her breath completely catches. It feels like a physical punch to the chest as she remembers her last moment at the horse ranch. She remembers Diandian crying out those two words, "Mommy," and she grips her phone so hard it almost breaks.
She dials Ye Fan instantly, but it just rings and rings.
Her heart is absolutely hammering now, and pure dread completely washes over her.
She ditches the party entirely and rushes straight to the hospital. Gripping the wheel with one hand, she is driving like a maniac.
Her other hand is frantically dialing Ye Fan over and over again.
Still nothing. Out of pure frustration, she slams the phone onto the passenger seat. She floored the gas pedal, blowing right through several red lights.
Screeching brakes echo through the night as she slides to a halt outside the hospital. The drive wasn't even that long, but to her, it felt like an eternity.
She runs inside, met with that awful, sharp smell of heavy disinfectant. There is some weird, sickening rot mixed into the air, and it's super unsettling. Then she hears the staff down the hall laughing about something. As she gets closer, she hears them bragging about how they finally got their hands on a rich lady's husband. They are literally mocking him for lying on the floor like a dead dog, laughing their heads off. Connecting their cruel words to that DNA report, her blood starts absolutely boiling. Her voice cuts through the noise, cold as ice. Where is Ye Fan? The staff freeze instantly, practically shaking when they see who is standing right behind them. They stammer out that Mr. Yi is in the last treatment room, and she looks down the empty hallway. She wonders how Ye Fan will react when he sees her. Will he hit her in anger, or just give her the silent treatment? Maybe he will cry and beg to leave. But honestly, it doesn't matter. She is never letting him go. She wouldn't even before she knew about the kid. And now that she knows Dian is actually her biological son, there is zero shot she lets him walk. The realization makes her walk even faster, desperate to reach him. The sketchy doctors are still trying to play it cool, giving her fake smiles. They tell her they are giving Mr. Ye the absolute best, most advanced treatment. But at the door, Liu Ruyan stares at the heavy iron mesh blocking her way. Standing before that airtight door, a heavy, suffocating feeling starts to settle in. She rattles the door handle, only to find it locked tight. Her cold gaze whips toward the guards. Who gave you permission to lock him up? The guard breaks into a cold sweat under the woman's terrifying glare. Terrified, he stammers out that this was all just for President Liu's treatment plan. They were just worried the patient would escape, promising to unlock it right away. With a heavy click, that massive stone-cold door finally swings open. The heavy seal is broken, and a sickening, thick smell of blood immediately hits them. Liu Ruyan's heart skips a beat, but then she spots him on the metal bed. Ye Fan is just lying there with his eyes closed, still ignoring her. Relieved, she whispers that she is finally here to take him home. But the man on the steel bed remains completely still, as if he cannot hear her. She sighs softly. Her Ye Fan has always been incredibly stubborn like this. She reaches out to shake him, asking why he won't look at her. Didn't you say you wanted to make amends and start over? I'm agreeing to it. Her voice fades into silence, but the man on the bed still does not answer. A sudden spike of anxiety hits her, and she asks if he even cares about Dian. Their son is going to cry after not seeing him, and tomorrow is his birthday. She wants them to pick him up from the hospital together to celebrate. Normally, mentioning their son always gets a reaction, but now he is completely motionless. In an instant, the rising dread in Liu Ruyan's chest reaches an absolute peak. She tries to pull him up, but her hand brushes against something thick and wet. Realizing something is terribly wrong, she suddenly yanks back the white sheet. Underneath is a pool of deep red blood, staining the mattress completely. Beside the bed, the screen of the silent, worn-out heart monitor tells the real story. It is a flatline. Bro, my heart just dropped for him as the cold settles in. The chilling realization sinks deep into her bones, freezing her entirely in place.
It takes everything she has just to force her trembling hand to touch his face.
The icy, lifeless touch sends a violent shudder through her as pure terror takes hold. Fear grips her very soul, leaving her shaking fingers hovering helplessly in the air.
She hesitates to touch him again as pale moonlight filters through the window.
Casting shadows over Ye Fan's pale face, she finally checks for a breath, only to find dead silence. Her knees completely buckle, sending her stumbling forward to collapse against the bed. "Call the doctor!" she screams, her desperate voice shattering the quiet night. The medical staff rushes inside and immediately checks the flatlined heart monitor. Shaking with fear, the doctor whispers to President Liu that he is already gone. Liu Ruyan freezes on the spot, the blood in her veins turning completely to ice.
Her pupils dilate in horror as her gaze locks onto the quiet hospital bed. Staring at his lifeless, pale body, what does the doctor mean by gone?
He literally just sent her a message, so how could he be dead the second she arrives?
But she can't hear a single word of their explanations. Their voices sound muffled and distant, as if blocked by a thick pane of glass. Her entire world completely shatters. Nothing is left but this freezing cold metal bed and her own paralyzed body.
She wraps her arms tightly around his pale, blood-drenched frame, refusing to let go.
She checks his breath over and over, desperate for any sign of life. Just praying this is all some terrible nightmare. Any second now, she will feel a faint warmth. But there is nothing. Absolutely nothing. Ye-Fan is gone. They were literally just arguing. Is he punishing her for being too late? And guilt poisons her heart. The silence in the room is suffocating. Right then, the door creaks. A worker sneaks out to call. In less than 30 minutes, loud, hurried footsteps echo down the corridor. Jiboda struts inside wearing a perfectly tailored suit. Honestly, dressing up for a hospital room is low-key tacky as hell. He stares at Liu Ruyan cradling Ye-Fan's body, completely devastated. Jealousy flashes in his eyes for a split second. But he quickly masks it with fake concern and steps forward. He puts on a forced, gentle voice. "Ruyan, why weep for him?" His tone drops, trying to sound smooth and tempting. "Now that nobody is in our way, are you not happy?" He reaches out, but she violently slaps his hand away. Jiboda freezes, utterly shocked by her sudden rejection. Ever since that construction site, she had treated him so well. She never snapped at him before, not once. Shoving him over a dead man is insane. Anger distorts his face. But he quickly switches to playing the victim.
He clutches his side suggestively, claiming he was just worried.
"Ruyan, you are carrying my baby." That finally makes her look up, but there is no warmth. Just pure, absolute ice. "My child?" Her mind suddenly races. She remembers his final texts. He begged her to get a DNA test for Diandian. At the construction site, he cried, waiting for her reply. Why did she refuse to believe him back then? Walking away with Jiboda must have completely broken his heart. Unbearable guilt floods her. She finally speaks, her voice raspy and barely recognizable. "Is that so?" Jiboda smirks, thinking he has won. But her next words pierce through him like frozen steel. She spits out, "We never even slept together, so how could I be pregnant?" Her gaze falls back down.
In a low whisper, she adds,
"If I have a child, it can only be Ye-Fan's, and seeing Jiboda's face instantly turn pale is so satisfying." His lips tremble. No, that is impossible. He insists that night was definitely her. Liu Ruyan glares. Her eyes overflow with freezing rage. "You mean the drug you used?" Jiboda freezes, his pupils shrinking in absolute terror. "I never even drank that glass of wine," she whispers coldly. Each word cuts like a razor. "After you lost consciousness? I had someone drop you off at a hotel, but as for who entered your room next?" She sneers coldly, and honestly, this reveal is wild, saying it was just a random passerby. "You're lying!" Jiboda shakes violently, his nails digging into his palms. "Deceiving you?" Liu Ruyan chuckles mockingly. "Jiboda, I warned you not to get greedy." He stammers, "No, that's impossible." "Liar! That child is definitely yours," he screams. Liu Ruyan's gaze turns ice cold as she takes a slow, menacing step forward. "Did you think I didn't know about the horse ranch?" Jiboda's breath instantly hitches. His face turns pale. "The horse my son wrote. You're the one who tampered with it." Her voice is freezing cold. "If the trainer hadn't noticed in time, Diandian would have died. This villain is actually crazy, guys." That fall would have taken his life. Jiboda stumbles backward in absolute panic. Hitting the wall, his weak legs completely giving out. "How did you know? Did you really think you could hide it?" Killing intent overflows. "Jiboda, you should never have targeted Diandian. Even if he isn't my actual son, He's still a Fan's child, and you had absolutely zero right to ever lay a hand on him.
Liu Ruyan, you're not even human, he screams in absolute despair. Tears ruin his makeup as he bawls.
She coldly turns away from him, walking back over to Yefan. Get out. Don't dirty his place.
Her assistant walks in, shivering from the tense atmosphere, but before he can speak,
Liu Ruyan croaks out in a tearful voice, "You said a fan refuses to wake up?"
Is he still mad at me? Does he really not want me anymore?
The assistant stays silent, a million words stuck in his throat.
Just as he's about to speak, someone bursts in.
Suddenly, Father Ye bursts in, grabs her collar, and lands a brutal punch. Talk about a satisfying payoff.
how could you do this to Ye Fan? His usually calm father looks absolutely furious,
Rushing forward and raining brutal punches down on her face.
His hoarse voice is absolutely terrifying. You promised to love, protect, and cherish my son forever, which is the only reason I let him marry you. So why is my son suddenly dead? Father Yi's fists fall like rain, each blow filled with agonizing, heartbroken rage. Liu Ruyan doesn't even try to dodge, letting her lip bleed out. But her eyes are terrifyingly hollow. Even if you hated him, how could you throw him into a mental asylum? Low-key heartbreaking, guys. His emotional state has been unstable ever since his grandfather passed away.
You abandoned him there all alone!
Are you even human? Liu Ruyan's pupils shrink in sudden shock. Her mind flashes back to the absolute despair in Ye Fan's eyes when he was taken. If he did something wrong, you could have just told us instead of shutting him away. Father Yi grabs her collar, tears streaming down his face. Why did you abuse my son? Give me my son's life back, Liu Ruyan repeats in dazed shock. Abuse him? She stares blankly at Father Ye, her voice completely broken. Father Ye shoves her away and pulls a stack of photos out of his pocket. Slammed right in her face, photos scattering all over the floor. Every single one is hard proof of Ye Fan being abused in that asylum. Tied to a bed, struggling, forced to the ground, and pumped with drugs. Cowering in a corner, shivering as Liu Ruyan frantically pulls back his sleeve. Her eyes widen in pure horror. Besides that fatal slash on his wrist,
His body has bruises, puncture wounds, and even burn marks from electric shocks.
even his fingertips show signs of his nails being violently ripped out. Scraped knees and elbows like he had been dragged across the floor endless times. Liu Ruyan can barely breathe, her heart squeezed in an absolute vice grip. How could this happen? Why is he covered in so many scars? This is actually painful to watch. She digs her nails deep into her palms. How are there so many injuries? Don't play dumb with me now. His dad kicks the coffee table right over. Didn't you literally permit this? Who else would dare touch my son? He slams a document before her. Liu Ruyan frantically scoops up the papers. It was a consent form for special treatment in the mental asylum. She frantically flips through. And there it is, right at the end, her own signature. But she never signed this. It was G. Boda. This plot twist changes everything. She spits out his name with pure rage.
She remembers her high fever that day when G. Boda brought papers to sign.
She barks at the assistant near the door. Bring G. Boda here. Right now. Meanwhile, Ye Fan's mother is kneeling on the cold floor, shaking hands, gently cradling her son's pale, lifeless face. Her wrinkled fingers softly trace Ye Fan's closed eyelids, trying to wipe away his final trace of pain, tears streaming down her face. Tears drip onto Ye Fan's white collar, blooming like dark, tragic flowers. Ye Fan, my sweet boy, his mother's voice cracks into pieces.
Choking on her words, she presses her forehead against his icy brow, as if she could share her warmth.
How could you leave me? How could you let your mother bury you? Beside her, his dad stands frozen, bloodshot eyes fixed on his son's completely lifeless face.
His rough hands clench into fists, knuckles turning white from sheer force.
Yet he doesn't strike Liu Ruyan again. This powerful business tycoon now stands defeated, shoulders slumped as quiet, heavy tears stream down. His deeply wrinkled face, he aged 20 years in a single second, Suddenly, the assistant bursts through the door, footsteps clicking sharply as he rushes over to Liu Ruyan with a grim face, and whispering that Ji-Boda has fled the city. Liu Ruyan's eyes turn deadly, a pitch-black storm brewing in her pupils. Her voice is as cold as a poisoned blade. Deploy everyone. Block every single exit out of the city. I want him alive. Or dead, as the assistant turns to leave. Ye Fan's father suddenly roars out, "Enough!" He snaps his head up, glaring at Liu Ruyan with bloodshot eyes, his voice rasping like sandpaper. "Stop acting, Liu Ruyan! My son is already dead!" "How long are you going to protect that homewrecker?" Liu Ruyan doesn't even bother to answer.
She just slowly stands up, towering over them like an absolute wall.
She blocks Ye Fan's body with eyes cold enough to freeze hell.
The low pressure in the room is suffocating while they scream to give him back.
Ye Fu's voice is literally shaking, spitting every word through clenched teeth.
He demands to take his son home, but Liu Ruyan coldly says it's impossible. Her tone is pitch black. Nobody is taking her man away from her.
You absolute monster! Ye Fu completely loses it and lunges forward.
But her elite guards pin him down while he struggles and screams.
He screams that she never cared when he was alive, so why act heartbroken now?
Liu Ruyan just orders her guards to throw them out without a shred of warmth.
Ye Fan's mother suddenly throws herself onto her son's lifeless body, sobbing hysterically.
She screams in pure agony, asking Liu Ruyan what right she even has.
"I carried him for 9 months. What gives you the right to stop us?" Liu Ruyan completely blocks out the mother's weeping and just leans down.
She gently takes Ye Fan's stiff hand with unbelievable, fragile tenderness. It's like she's holding glass, desperately trying to warm him up with her hands.
In the end, the guards have to drag his devastated parents away.
The heavy door slams shut, locking out their painful cries.
The massive room falls dead silent as Liu Ruyan slowly drops to her knees. Her slender fingers softly trace the shape of Ye Fan's cold face.
She touches his freezing skin, moving slowly from his brows to his nose.
Finally, her hand stops on his pale, colorless lips as she leans in.
She leaves a feather-light kiss on his forehead, softly whispering his name. Her voice is completely broken as she asks why he left her behind.
A single hot tear falls onto his face, tracing down his cold cheek. Honestly, it almost looks like he's crying too, but there is no reply. Only deafening silence and freezing cold answer her, until suddenly, something drops.
Ye Fan's other stiff hand slowly unclasps, releasing a tiny object.
A little blue diamond dinosaur hairpin slips right out of his cold palm.
It hits the floor, making a sharp, echoing clink.
Liu Ruyan freezes instantly, slowly picking up the small hair clip.
Touching the delicate details, she realizes this belongs to their beloved son, Diandian.
He gave him this last year, and this realization hits her like a truck.
She suddenly remembers the moments right before Ye Fan was sent to the asylum.
He was begging for his meds and secretly hid their son somewhere safe. She instantly dials her assistant, her voice turning sharp and urgent.
"Go find out where Afan hid Diandian before all of this."
"Bring him back to me right now," she snaps, hanging up.
The suffocating silence returns as she looks down at his peaceful face.
Her chest tightens so hard it literally feels like she cannot breathe anymore.
Memories flood back in waves, and she remembers how Ye Fan used to be.
That beautiful last smile he gave her, his eyes absolutely full of warmth.
She remembers him softly calling her name, back when things were actually happy.
But then she remembers his teary, broken eyes begging her to believe him.
And now he will never smile at her or call her name again.
Much less look at her with those expressive eyes ever again.
Her phone suddenly vibrates with a new message lighting up the screen.
It is from her driver, who is cleaning out Ye Fan's car. He found a small black box that Ye Fan must have left behind.
Asking if he should bring it over while Liu Ruyan just holds Ye Fan's body.
She sits frozen by the bed as night slowly turns into dawn.
As the morning light creeps in, she still refuses to let go. Her fingers trace his face over and over, hoping this can somehow warm his cold skin back to life. Then,
Her assistant walks in.
The sight is low-key heartbreaking. This once untouchable, powerful woman sits with her head low, her dark hair suddenly streaked with white.
Jarring white. Her back is completely hunched over, looking like she is crushed under some heavy, invisible weight. She looks completely lifeless now. Her assistant can only grip the files tightly, with a tight throat, not knowing what to say.
Then, the door opens.
The driver walks in cautiously, carrying a small black wooden box.
He whispers, "President Liu, this is what Ye-fan left behind."
Liu Ruyan slowly raises her head, staring blankly at the box. It is a beautifully crafted box, carved with delicate patterns.
Taped on the lid is a photo of a smiling little boy.
He is holding wildflowers, tilting his head, and smiling. It is Dian. Her pupils shrink as a sudden chill shoots up her spine. What is this? Her voice is completely raspy as she reaches out for it. Her grip turns white. The driver looks down, too scared to look. He hands the black box over, and Liu Ruyan tears it open. Inside sits an urn. Right next to it is a lock of dark hair tied with a red string. Next to that is a faded photo of the little boy lying among flowers. His eyes are closed like he is sleeping, but his forehead is covered in blood. On the back, it says, "Beloved son Dian, passed away at age 3. Her breath completely hitches. Instantly, she slams the box onto the floor.
She screams in absolute denial. This joke is not funny at all.
She turns to her assistant, eyes completely bloodshot. "This is fake, right?"
My son was so healthy and cute. How could he possibly be...
The assistant has red eyes, clutching the folder even tighter.
He has no idea how to tell her the brutal truth inside. Liu Ruyan snatches the file, her shaking fingers tearing open the report. Half a month ago, little Dian, during playtime at kindergarten, wanting to get his mother a birthday gift. He climbed a tree alone to pick flowers, then fell. Doctors could not save him, and the crime scene photo is attached below. The little boy lies quietly on the grass, still clutching a tiny wildflower. The blood beneath him has dried up. Suddenly, Liu Ruyan's world goes completely dark. Ears buzzing. No shot! Her voice is raspy like sandpaper, every single word dripping with pure agony. "But I sent the medicine," she gasps, looking up. Her bloodshot eyes lock onto the assistant. "I sent the medicine!" How could he die? The assistant backpedals, terrified by her monstrous face. Choking up, "President Liu, it was fake." They all lied. Liu Ruyan rages. She flips the coffee table, glass shattering everywhere. The crash deafens the room. She is a wounded beast. Screaming hysterically, "My son cannot be dead. He obviously took the medicine," the weeping assistant whispers. "President Liu." The medicine never reached Dian. Liu Ruyan completely freezes. "Mr. G," the assistant swallows hard, "right after you ordered it. He claimed it was your order and swapped it for sugar pills." The air instantly freezes. Liu Ruyan just stands there. Her tall frame sways, a loud buzzing in her ears.
She remembers that missed call from weeks ago when she was too angry.
Suddenly, she coughs up blood, staining the papers crimson, low-key heartbreaking. Just like the red snow where her son fell. Her vision blurs. The assistant yells in panic as her knees crash onto the floor. But she feels no pain, lost in a daze. The heavy fog finally clears in her 2-week-old nightmare. And there is little Dian standing nearby, holding a white flower, waving and saying, "Goodbye, Mom." The funeral is a warm, sunny day. Liu Ruyan wears a black suit. Standing silently in the cemetery, sunlight gently warms the twin tombstones. The newly carved names gleam with a cold, metallic luster. Ye-fan, Dian. She gently traces the cold stone. The rough texture makes her see her husband's gentle smile again. Hearing her son's sweet laughter. Holding an umbrella, the assistant hesitates. Liu Ruyan waves her hand, signaling him to step back. Crouching down, she places fresh bouquets of white baby's breath. In front of the graves, Ye-fan's favorites. Her son always copied him. Weaving flowers into wreaths. "Ye-fan, Dian," she whispers. I am here to join you. A gentle breeze passes. The petals sway as if the father and son are nodding goodbye. Watching this, Liu Ruyan suddenly remembers many years ago. It was also a sunny day when she first met Ye Fan. He wore a tiny flower wreath under the warm sun. When the funeral ends, everyone leaves. Liu Ruyan remains, watching the workers shovel dirt, scoop by scoop. Filling the graves back up, her face is terrifyingly calm, as if all her pain was buried deep with those two coffins. When the final dirt is placed, a soft drizzle falls. Liu Ruyan looks up, letting the cold rain wash her face.
She knew that from here on out, there would never be another sunny day in her life.
After that day, Liu Ruyan still went to work every single day like nothing happened.
Sharp suit, her face completely cold and expressionless.
It was as if that heartbreaking funeral had never even happened, but the assistant could feel that something inside her had completely died. Those eyes, which used to be so sharp and full of life,
Now held nothing but a bottomless, pitch-black void. She still handled company affairs with her usual ruthless efficiency,
but every signature and every single corporate meeting felt like a hollow shell, completely stripped of its soul, simply going through the motions to carry out its final orders. 1 month later, has Jiboda been caught yet?
Liu Ruyan stands by the massive glass window, her voice sounding scary and dead calm.
a cold shiver runs down the assistant's spine as he whispers that they found his trace over in Jiaguo. We have already locked down the area and are moving in on him fast.
Liu Ruyan cuts him off, lightly tapping her finger against the cold window glass. I want him alive. The assistant swallows hard. Understood. Where's that file on the Liu family side branches I asked you to organize? The assistant quickly hands over the folder, saying they are all right here. Liu Ruyan flips her a few pages and pulls out a couple of files. Have these people report to headquarters first thing tomorrow morning, and the VP will personally train them. The assistant takes the files and is about to walk out when she calls him back. Wait. Her voice suddenly softens a bit as she tells him to send a fresh bouquet of white baby's breath to the cemetery. The assistant freezes for a second, then nods. Yes, as soon as the office door shuts, Liu Ruyan slowly pulls open her desk drawer. She pulls out a worn photo, faded from being held so many times, showing Ye Fan holding Dian. The father and son are smiling so brightly, as if all the cruelty in the world could never touch them. Her fingertips gently trace over both of their smiling faces in the old photo. Her eyes look so gentle they are almost shattered as she softly murmurs, Fan, Dian. Her voice is so quiet, as if she is afraid of disturbing them. Just wait for me, okay? Once I catch Jiboda, and once I finish setting up everything for the Liu family, I will come down to join you both, okay? Meanwhile, the final investigation results act like a sharp blade, completely slicing away her last illusions. At this point, the assistant stands in Liu Ruyan's office, utterly terrified. Cold sweat soaking through his shirt as he hands over the thick, heavy investigation report. With a tight voice, he says, President Liu, we finally found the truth. The thugs who kidnapped your husband at the construction site and the asylum staff. Who tortured him inside the hospital? They were all secretly paid off and hired by Jiboda. The air in the room instantly freezes over as Liu Ruyan sits in the shadows. This is insane! With a sharp snap, the pen in her hand breaks completely in half, spilling dark ink across the files like a pool of dried blood.
Good. Very good, she chuckles, chillingly soft.
Her eyes burn with a terrifying, murderous rage. Jiboda really calculated every single step, and the assistant dare not look up. He has never seen her look like this before, displaying an eerie, terrifying calmness bordering on absolute madness. It feels like she is about to burn the entire world to ashes in the very next second. By the time they finally track down and drag Jiboda in, winter has already set in. Inside a desolate, abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town, the freezing wind howls through the broken window panes.
It sounds like a tragic, weeping ghost. Along the far eastern wall of the building,
thick patches of dark mold from rainwater creep across the concrete, forming the creepy shape of a human hand. Right in the corner of the wall lies a mysterious pitch-black stain on the floor. A rusty, metallic smell slowly spreads as Jabota sits tied to a chair.
He looks a bit messy after the struggle, but his face holds a smug grin.
Looking up, he sneers that Liu Ruyan has finally decided to show up. He puffs his chest, mockingly asking what she can even do to him now. His smile grows more arrogant as he brags the law will protect him. He laughs that her lover Ye Fan and her young son are both dead.
Since he is still alive, she will never get her revenge.
Liu Ruyan stands silently in the shadows, her black coat whipping in the wind. Like a dark demon spreading its wings, she slowly approaches him. She looks down at him with a gaze so cold it is terrifying. "You are absolutely right," she whispers softly. Her voice is shockingly gentle as she agrees prison is too easy for him. His smug smirk instantly freezes when she suddenly grabs his jaw. She forces his head up toward a dark corner where several doctors wait. They are holding heavy restraints, and she leans right next to his ear. She slowly tells him he is going to an asylum, making his eyes widen. At this point, pure terror finally takes over as he begs her to stop. "Do not worry," she says, stepping back with a bone-chilling stare. "The staff there will take great care of you, just like they did to Ye Fan." But Jabota screams back, asking if she truly thinks this is his fault. He yells that her own cold indifference is what allowed this to happen. He claims she is the real killer of her own family. Her eyelashes tremble for a second before she regains her cold composure. She signals her men to move in as his screams echo through the warehouse. But his struggles soon fade, and his voice slowly grows quiet. Only desperate whimpers remain as Liu Ruyan calmly walks out of the building. Heavy snow falls from the sky, melting into tiny droplets on her shoulders. Cold water soaks her thin black coat as she stands by the heavy iron gate. Her breath forms pale clouds in the freezing air, disappearing almost instantly. It feels as though the freezing winter night is trying to choke her. Staring up at the gloomy gray sky, she softly whispers her lover's name. "I finally sent him straight to hell," she says, just like he deserved. "I am next," she whispers. Honestly, this whole scene is low-key heartbreaking.
She brought a lot of gifts, including Ye Fan's favorite white baby's breath.
There is a toy dinosaur for her son, and the mango cake they once shared.
Sitting before the cold tombstone, her fingers gently trace the smiling faces. Her voice is incredibly soft and low as she speaks to them.
Afraid to disturb their sleep, she whispers that she brought a new comic book. She opens the hardcover manga, reminding her son of the unfinished story. Her fingers tremble as she asks if he still remembers. He wanted his mother to read him a page every night until the end. As a cold gust of wind blows, she instinctively blocks it with her body.
She does it naturally, just like before, continuing the story of the fire-breathing lizard.
She whispers that she has brought the rest of the book for him today. But her voice grows fainter and fainter until she suddenly stops. His throat tightens as he whispers to the grave that Mom can finally finish the story this time. A warm tear falls onto a leaf, blurring the ink.
He pulls out his son's favorite lollipop.
Carefully unwrapping the candy, he places it gently in front of the tombstone. "This is the exact one you hid in my suit pocket, and your mom kept it all this time." The snow starts falling harder as the wrapper flutters softly in the freezing wind. As the wrapper rustles in the breeze, he could almost hear his son's sweet, giggling laughter.
Just as happy as when he used to get caught stealing candy.
Then he turns to Afan's grave next to it, pulling a small velvet box out from his coat. "I bought the cufflinks you liked so much last time," he says, opening it. The platinum gleams under the pale snow. He remembers how Afan wanted to wait for their anniversary to wear them. He keeps rambling on and on, as if they were both still right beside him. Listening quietly, he lets out a soft laugh, pausing here and there like they were having a normal family conversation. But now, heavy white snowflakes are piling up all over his frozen shoulders, and he doesn't even care. Stubbornly, he refuses to move. It's like he truly believes that as long as he keeps talking, they can still hear him. The fading sunlight slowly shifts, stretching his long, lonely shadow across the snow, casting a solitary, dark silhouette against the tombstone when suddenly a cold snowflake lands on his nose. Liu Ruyan slowly looks up, staring directly into the gray, gloomy sky.
A few tiny, delicate snowflakes begin to drift down, looking sparse and quiet at first.
But slowly, the snow starts coming down hard, blanketing the silent tombstones.
It lands all over his dark, heavy coat, almost as if it wants to bury him and blend him into this cemetery forever.
His assistant stands at a distance, hesitating for a long time. Finally, he steps forward to speak.
Looking like he just woke up from an incredibly long and tragic dream, Liu Ruyan slowly raises his head to look.
He glances at the darkening sky, then looks back down at the graves.
With a soft sigh, he tells his assistant that he has worked incredibly hard over these past few days.
The assistant freezes in surprise, quickly shaking his head. "That was only my duty, President Liu," he says, but his boss says nothing more.
Instead, he simply writes a massive check. He hands the check over and quietly tells the assistant to go take a very long vacation.
A terrifying sense of dread washes over the assistant as he looks up. Trying to read something from his boss's expression, that face remains so calm, it is actually terrifying. Without another word, the assistant finally turns and walks away.
Thinking that a legendary titan like President Liu, the ultimate financial tycoon, wouldn't break.
He figures a ruthless mogul like President Liu would never actually let grief destroy him over a relationship. Maybe he just needs some time. With that, the assistant finally turns and leaves.
At this point, the blizzard starts raging hard, with howling winds whipping thick sheets of snow around,
Leaving Liu Ruyan completely alone.
He gently caresses the cold tombstone, his raspy voice suddenly filled with an absolute, deeply tender warmth.
Whispering softly, he tells Fan that he can finally come see them both now.
Bro, this is actually low-key heartbreaking. Ever since he found out they died, he has had zero desire to live. Now that the villain G-Boat is punished, he's ready. And the family company finally has a worthy heir. He can finally end it all in peace. As the sharp blade slices across her wrist, she actually feels this weird, long-lost peace. Crimson blood gushes out, blooming into a blinding red stain against the white snow. It looks just like the first bouquet of roses Fan ever gave her, as her body heat slowly slips away. But the biting cold fades. Instead, a strange, comforting warmth washes over her. Through her fading vision, she sees Fan holding their son's hand, standing in the warm sunlight and smiling. Little Dian is wearing those overalls she bought him, jumping up and down while waving. "Mom, come here, quick!" Snowflakes land gently on her eyelashes, melting into droplets that slowly slide down her cheek. It looks exactly like her tears from that day as she finally closes her eyes for the last time. But her lips curve into a faint smile. She can finally go be with them. Talk about an emotional payoff. She just wonders if Fan and their boy will ever forgive her, if only she could turn back time. She would rather have died right there under that robber's gun, never having regressed. Man, this twist is low-key heartbreaking.